What's up? It's gonna drop. It's gonna drop.
There you go. Oh man, I always get the timing wrong on this new one.
It's okay, me too. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing really well, my dear friend Remy. How are you?
I'm good. It's a nice Monday afternoon, Tuesday afternoon. Yeah. We usually do this at night, so I don't know.
Later at night, and we usually do it on the weekend, so this is weird in every single way possible.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll perfect this. Hey, Nima, this is it starts really well.
Off to a good start, Remy.
Unusual show for us, as we are reviewing what?
Hold on, I was checking my focus. We're reviewing Sense8 season Dos.
Dos.
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm already afraid because I think you didn't like it, and I loved it.
I'll tell you now, I definitely didn't like it. But
you didn't like it?
Yeah,
So
I was disappointed.
What you didn't like, outweighed what you like about it?
Definitely, for sure, absolutely. That's a really good way of putting it. I've never put something in that way, and that's a really mature way of
You're
putting
welcome.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
You complete me, Remy. All right, so we can start off right at bat. Oh, actually, before we even start, for the majority of our subscribers, this is new. This is not a show we've talked about before, as far as you're aware. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. If you don't like it, just be patient with us. Why are you smiling so much?
The video froze. Oh, it's back. Never mind.
Oh, it hasn't frozen on my end.
Sorry.
That's okay. So just be patient with us. We'll be back Sunday for leftovers, but we're trying new things. So there is going to be more videos coming as well for different shows.
Right. Because this is going to all our subscribees.
Subscribers? Subscribees?
Yeah, subscribers.
Yeah, subscribers. And everybody else that might be interested in Sense8. If you are interested in, we loved season 1. Now we're talking about season 2. And
obviously, Nima did not like season 2.
Oh man, I did not like season 2. So
okay, well, let's dive right into it. Is it this? Because I thought the story was really cool. Same with character development. There was a lot of cheese.
So much cheese. Very
cheesy stuff. But that didn't make it all not worth it for me. What else didn't you like about it?
Like we can talk like you and I just watched the finale. Watched it, and now we're talking about the whole season. So, like for me, as I was watching the finale, it was a perfect example of why I didn't like Sense8 season 2. And
okay, awesome.
So, like, there was a lot of cheese. For the first, I literally took notes per almost a minute that I was getting disappointed. So, like I said, by minute 20, still nothing happening. By minute 27, nothing's happening this episode yet. Minute 30, nothing's happening.
What do you mean? That's the speech and like the serious kicking ass started like pretty soon.
It started pretty soon. Sure, like things were happening on the screen, but
right.
When you think about the story, like characters developing, things happening to the characters, the story moving along, literally nothing happens all the way up until like minute 40 of this episode when exciting things happen around Wolfgang. Oh, Jesus, that scared the crap out of me.
Well, yeah, but that was like, okay, that was drastic. They couldn't start off like with something that big.
No, I'm not asking him to, but like literally anything that happens before that didn't move the story along in any way possible. So Sun is still in Korea. Her brother is still alive. There was a chase scene that literally didn't go anywhere. Nothing happened. There was the action scene in the garage, which, like, there was a moment of Sun running in slow motion or walking in slow motion, and that felt like it lasted 5 minutes, and it, like, nothing exciting.
There's some things, like, creative decisions that was, whatever. I didn't like them, some of them, but I was trying to. I think since we started watching season 2, I've been trying to look past what I didn't like in the, I guess the human aspect of it, like the acting and the subtleties, and I tried to look at it just from like a visual and storyline mainly perspective. And so, like every amazing story, the more amazing the story, the harder it is to convey it using things like actors and camera skills or editing.
Right.
But there's definitely for me a lot of things that they were cool, but I'm like, not that cool. I'm not talking about the cheesy let's love each other thing, which is a great message for humanity. But I bet that's that's the thing that a lot of people probably did not even want to give the show a chance.
Like,
I think that's
do you
because
think
of why
the message?
I don't know. Yeah.
No,
No, the message is great. The message is awesome.
So
You know, like
what's your
acceptance.
reasoning? What? Oh, I need to turn on my lights. Yeah. What's your reasoning for you're saying people?
I'm saying I love the storyline.
Right.
And I love some of the action scenes and some of the shots and the colors and the locations these guys found to film all this story. Amazing. Amazing job. And that alone was like, that plus the story was entertaining enough for me. I was able to, like, take my mind out of the things I didn't like.
Okay, no, that's a really good way to think about it, because there is a lot of things that are impressive about the show and impressive about the people that make it. I think that's part of the reason that I'm just so, overall speaking, disappointed, right? Because you and I were talking about this actually last night, and we've been talking actually about this for a long time. The creators of this show and the director of this season it seems like entirely was directed by Lana, and her sister was out. These two are filmmaking geniuses.
Sure. Yeah, we both know that.
Their writing and filmmaking capabilities is beyond belief, like beyond something that most filmmakers won't even get close to when it comes to attention.
Can you look in my eyes? You're looking like over there, and it's hard to connect with you.
No, your camera's over here, but the audience's camera is over here. So I'm gonna look at that one. I can try to bring you in a little bit closer.
Yeah, just like make your cameras hump so I can like. That looks awesome. There you go.
All right, that's close enough. I'm gonna look at that one still.
That's really good.
So, like, the attention to detail, these guys are these girls are incredible at it. Like, they're unbelievable when it comes to the technical aspect of it, but they keep lacking when it comes to this show in particular to push it over the edge. Like, obviously, I know they both went through something really difficult in their life and something really momentous in their life. It's a big deal for a person to go through that transition and to actually reveal who they are to the public, right?
I can only imagine, yeah. I mean, yeah, dramatic.
But, like, for example, we don't need 2 seasons of these positive messages about gay rights and trans awareness.
Sure.
Like, you and I were on board with that, like, episode 1, right? Of season 1.
Yeah.
Now we're dealing with episode 11 of season 2, and it's still the same message.
Recurring. Okay, that's an excellent point. I see that. Is that the only reason you don't really like it?
No, there's a lot. I can go through details, but go ahead.
That's definitely something that was annoying to me. Like, yeah, I'm on board. You don't convince me anymore. Like, I get the message.
Right.
You realize we're talking, like, about this, like, so selfishly.
Right, because you and I are not going through the same struggles that they were, and a lot of people are.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I bet like a lot. If people would give this show a chance, it would be much bigger, and you get a lot of people digging that aspect of it that we're like maybe we don't need as much,
right,
reassurance in our life, something like that.
I imagine there is a community, like shows like this. I want to say were needed, but I assume they are needed. A show where the community that has been marginalized is the centerpiece of a show and looked at in a positive way and more or less in your face,
Right. You love these characters.
I love the characters. I love the... Yeah. But I think they can do a lot more with them, and they did almost nothing this season. By the end of this season 2, we were in the same place that season 1. Like, no. Season 1 ended with one of them being... Not ended, but... The ending, like the couple of episodes...
Yeah, it left for a continuation.
No, not even that. I'm saying the last couple episodes of season 1 where one of them was captured and everybody had to go save him. And at the end of season 2, one of them's captured and they all have to go save him and they're pissed at Whispers. Like, continue the story in a place that we haven't been. Like, we shouldn't, as an audience member, be watching something and be like, yeah, this is where I've been before. Go ahead.
Sure. But if you look at it from a storyline point of view, that's what makes it for me. Is that this has so much potential, and if you look at the appearing like slow kind of progression of it, like you said, it's the same feel, same kind of thing. It's the same season almost. You're saying, but we got a lot more detail about this world that all these characters are living in,
right?
And the battle that they're embarking on, and that's awesome because it's still, in my opinion, a lot happened. Like we learned a lot and made that whole world so much more interesting to me with the other clusters and all these like thousands of sensates in the world, and there's a battle between good and evil. It's the same story told again, but like this is a different like group of characters, which are all the main character.
You're right. I will absolutely respect, and I will give you that. We learned some new things, and those new things were really cool to learn during this whole season. And cool things happened, but like I was talking about, Sun walking towards the camera in slow motion during this last episode. That was a perfect example of something that happened during this whole season. There were these pointless slow motion dramatic sequences that lasted so long in almost every episode.
Yeah, I agree with that. But that's just artistic thing. I don't like them either, man. I really agree with you on that.
I respect artists.
But how did that ruin it for you?
It wasted my time. It wasted my time because by the end of those sequences, nothing's happened.
I know. Like those sequences probably were wasted like over an hour, but under 2 of our time within that whole season. I'm sure. Like, I agree with you on that.
And like, I want to stress the Wachowskis are geniuses. They can blow
okay, so you're expecting more from them.
I'm expecting.
That's what it is.
I don't want them to like do everything I want them to do, but I want them to be as good as they are. And for whatever reason, this season they were not as good as they were. And maybe it's because it was literally half of them. The other half wasn't able to take part in this season for personal reasons and the personal decisions.
Yeah, sure, but it all depends. For a show like this, do you think they were writing the story as they were going? Because the story must have already been written. It's probably already all written. Now they're just trying to make like seasons out of it.
I don't think so.
No, you don't think so? You think they're kind of going as their...
I think season 1 they wrote it, and it was like 3 of them that wrote it. Season 2 there was a long gap before Netflix even bought season 2 and gave them the go ahead. So I imagine they were not writing season 2 in that time, and maybe they had an overarching story, and then writing took place later on, and there was a lot going on. Like, and that's the thing. They left season 2 ending in a way that almost forces Netflix to renew it for a 3rd season in a very deliberate way.
No, that doesn't force them, because if the numbers are not there, if the audience is not there, Netflix is not going to give a shit how season 2 ended.
Right, but this season's ending seems in a way like almost like taking your viewers and Netflix as a hostage. Like...
Sure, I felt that.
Like, you're ending it in a way that you're hoping your dear fans, the ones that love the shit out of the show,
are going to push for it.
Are going to ask Netflix renew it for a 3rd season. Exactly.
Yeah, and I want to see a 3rd season.
You want to see a 3rd?
Oh, dude, I love the story. I think it's awesome.
I do too, but one of my notes was if they're going to continue in the same manner, in the same way that like an 11-episode season could have easily been like a 4-episode miniseries and still convey all the cool parts, all the great emotions, then in that case, don't do a 3rd season. Quit while you're kind of ahead and go into doing something completely different. Like, I don't want to take over this whole conversation. I'll turn it over back to you.
I wish the whole thing was a lot darker.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. It was. Yeah, I agree with that. And Matrix, we're all in love with the Matrix, and we can only hope for an artist to recreate such a shock to society with a piece of art. I really think that they were trying to do something like this. And
aww, puppies.
Hey guys, I'm doing a podcast here. What are you doing? You see her?
I love how they're like, "Oh, you're doing a podcast?"
let me jump right in. Hey Lilo.
They're like, "Why didn't you say anything?"
I know, it's cool. I'm gonna have to recenter here. I think that's.
You gotta go. Right. You need to go. Oh, you're fine. You're good. Don't touch it.
Shit, that was a good thought too.
I can kind of finish your thought. Like,
yes, please.
over the last couple nights, I have actually been
finish my thoughts, Nima.
Oh, you're doing it like an NPR voice. Like, is this how we're gonna do?
That'd be cool, actually.
Over the last couple nights, I've been rewatching The Matrix, the sequels, which I personally didn't like back in the day, just to see what they were like when they were up at their peak of filmmaking. Because that's when it was. They were on top of the world when they were making Matrix 2 and 3. Like everybody,
you think so?
Oh yeah, everybody was expecting these guys, and they couldn't wait. It was one of the first.
But were those subsequent movies disappointments?
They were polarizing in a way that obviously they made a lot of money, but they were polarizing in the original fans and new people coming in. Like, Joe. Joe loves the hell out of Matrix 2 Reloaded more than anything else. So I rewatched them, and you realize what an incredible writing job those 3 scripts were. And it's one of those situations where every single movie is different than the one before it. It carries a story completely to a new place that you weren't expecting before. And not even the sci-fi aspect of it, which is like, it's incredible, but that script is so multi-layered. Like,
okay, let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
What is the script? Is the script just I know it's not just the dialogues,
right?
Or the it has the narrative, the dialogues, and does it also have all the the frames and like how things are going to look like? Is that part of the script as well?
Not necessarily. The script itself is
describing the scenes. That's all it's doing.
It's everything that you see in the actual screen, depending on who's writing it. Some people write less detail, some people write more detail. Right. But it's the dialogue, what's happening on the screen, written out. And that's what's first made. The Wachowskis are really famous.
Yeah, it's like a book. It's a book.
Basically. A lot of people, it's a really common thing in the movie fandom to read scripts instead of reading books. People find these scripts online, they read them, and they talk about how good a certain script is versus another script. Like the Wachowskis are not only incredible at writing scripts, they've proven to be some of the best writers on the planet, but they've, like, how you're talking about seeing shots and stuff? They were one of the first people to be like, every single shot, the way it's framed, the way it needs to be planned as far ahead and needs to
dude, you can
get
see how
right.
much of this was planned.
Right, they're good at it.
They're really good at it. But here's one thing that I think they did extremely well is the cool little, very subtle editing things that they did when all 8 sensates are together and they go back and forth, and sometimes like there's one person and they're all behind. Amazing. Like
Correct.
That takes planning. You can see how much work and effort go. It almost feels like making these scenes, they had the final product in their heads and they made it happen. And that's one of their main things, I think, that they wanted to do with this.
Absolutely. And
is like, how can we make a story that can that with editing we can make something really cool and new looking, period.
Right.
Because that's new look. I've never seen this shit anywhere.
I haven't either. When you think about how impressive it is to film
They did the same thing in The Matrix. But
Right.
it had a bigger shock because they're just using brand new technology and ideas, getting creative with all the cameras and stuff.
Right.
And
But
I
they
think
were
they're doing
using
some. Huh?
Go ahead. No, sorry,
I think they're doing the same thing here, but it's doesn't have as much as a shock because 2 things. Technology's been around for a while now. People are doing a lot of crazy things with it. Second thing is they wasted time with their acceptance theme.
Right. I agree
That's
with
what
that.
I'm thinking about the whole thing.
I agree with that. And I think, technology has improved over time, but obviously this is a much cheaper show. You can tell that in the car crash at the very end, it looked horrible. Like visually
What car crash? The ambulance?
No, not the ambulance, the Mercedes.
Dude, I was sitting there. I was like, "Wow, this is so cool, dude!"
It
I
looked-
thought it would look great.
I completely disagree because I've seen the contrast of them making the best chase scene on the planet, one of the best chase scenes ever in the Matrix.
But remember, they're trying to make this look as real as possible. The Matrix had.
This didn't look real. This looked pretty bad CGI and
I don't know,
bad
dude. I don't think there was much CGI in there.
There wasn't. Most of the chase was practical, which I love, and hats off for them for
maybe
doing
they're
it.
trying to do that like more of a natural way to make it look more authentic, and it did to me.
No, most of the chase was. I'm glad because a lot of times in chase scenes now, if you see like a chase happening in the middle of the street, more than likely all cars are CGI because it's cheap to do. It's a lot safer. This was practical. Most of it, there was an actual bike chasing a Mercedes down the streets of Seoul.
Right.
But when the crash happened, it switched to this horrible mix of CGI and practical that just like it was so glaring, and you're like, why? Like,
Was
why?
there really CGI in the first crash? Damn it! I
Yeah,
don't see these things.
But that's okay. And oh, God, I lost.
I was more impressed with one thing. Keep
What?
your thought.
I lost it, but go ahead.
But you lost. You lose it because of me.
No, not at all. I lost it before you even said anything. Keep going.
What I really like about that chase in particular, I remember thinking like, you know, when he's going and there's people, and that in itself looked a little bit cheesy, but then you put it in context. This guy doesn't know how to drive like this because he's never been in that situation. And so it's like a slow chase in a way.
Right. It's a horrible chase. You're right.
That's amazing because it puts it into perspective of regular people. Like,
True.
Me and you would not have done any better than this guy at trying to escape someone trying to kill them. And that I had
True.
that feeling, and it put me more into the story instead of like, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the explosions of this badass movie. No, it was more like,
Correct.
You were more involved.
That is very fair. That's a very fair thing to say, because this shouldn't have like a big explosive chase scene, because it's not happening to big explosive people who would have mastered the art of driving and like doing crazy things. You're right about that. That's really fair. I wish that they would have done in a way that like almost like Born Identity kind of way, where it's real cars happening, real scenes of sloppy driving, accidents happening left and right, of people smashing into cars when they shouldn't be. This seemed like it was threading this line. It was too clean, and it didn't.
But keep in mind, he was probably driving like a grandma, really slow in a way.
Yeah, but the bike was badass, and the driving of the bike was badass,
and the editing of the sensates helping her with that whole escape was amazing.
That was my thought.
Keep that in mind. That's fucking badass.
That's
the
what
main
I was
story
gonna
is
say.
about them, and like every time it's all of them together helping each other out. It's when this show is at its best. Is when every time you see some of them helping each other, that's when I'm like, oh yes, this is
completely
sweet.
agree. And that's something that you're so right. That's my top note for this whole thing is I like it when they're all together. And I like it anytime, which is a big part of the show, when they're talking to each other in different scenes.
Sure.
When you think about the logistics of doing that and getting it right, which this show gets
with
right.
all the locations?
Exactly.
Across the globe?
Like, think about it. A conversation that's happening in London, in India, in America, it's intercut. And obviously they have to fly back and forth between these places. It's intercut in a way that looks completely natural. You're never taken back because suddenly the conversation is India. And dude, that is so hard to do. You and I can't even carry one conversation in real life, and we're in one place. And these guys got it down between like 8 countries, and goes really well.
I feel like that comes down to like
I hear our voices.
It's not about lighting, right? Because every single crew's got their own thing going, or maybe it's the same crew. Either way, whatever scene is happening in a place in the world, it looks great.
Right.
They're gonna look different from one another, but it looks great. Like Wolfgang's always kind of gray and blue in a way, like especially when he was, when it's partying, and Kala is like orange and bright and beautiful colors, but they still go back and forth so smoothly.
Absolutely.
But think about it: the audio in the background, the music, and
the dialogue of the acting.
The microphone techniques and the acting.
Right.
See, like, it's great acting that we've seen from pretty much all of them.
Correct.
But the acting was also kind of making it cheesier when it was cheesy.
You're saying in making it worse, basically?
It made the cheese like, French cheese instead of American cheese.
Okay. All right. I think you meant the reverse, because French cheese is really good. American cheese is mediocre.
Well, I mean, like, what I'm saying is French cheese is definitely cheesier.
Okay.
It's more real. Anyways,
Ooh,
it's real. It's very weird, this conversation.
Panic dogs.
Yeah, seriously. It's like, oh, squirrel. I guess what I was trying to say is, even though the acting is really cool from all these young actors, really good, they have a bright future, it made they were so good that it made the cheesy scenes even more cheesier. And so that was annoying.
I think these actors are so on board with the story, and it's great to see because they look like they're having fun and they can carry the story through in ways that are really supportive of the people that are making it. It's great to see filmmakers and actors perfectly aligned to get things. Oh, I just realized in the slideshow that's on the screen, you're gonna see the poster and half the people's faces on the top are cut off. That's not based on anything. It's an OBS slideshow doing the crop weird. So don't think I'm hating on the people that are in the top half of the picture. I'm gonna switch.
Of the official poster?
Yeah, you'll see it come up in a second.
It's just Will.
No, it's not just Will. I mean,
Hey, okay, so yeah, finish your thought, man.
so one of the things, like, oh god, I'm gonna pass this back to you. But one of the things I didn't get, and maybe it's the nature of this show that needs to have a lot of sex things in it, which is fine if you're into it, but it seemed like it was happening at the most random times.
I agree with you. I
you're
agree
going
with
robotic.
Yeah, I know.
It was
You
either
still hear me,
happening, yeah. It was either happening at random times or it was just lasting for way too long. Like there would be a dramatic conversation with like a build up to an action scene or something crazy happening, and somehow in the middle of it, one girl was on top of another guy and he was holding her butt, and I'm just like,
Yeah, but
what emotion do you want me to be feeling right now? Like, am I supposed to be like, this girl's really hot?
This is an artist's. Hey, I'm just gonna put something I like into my piece of art. Period.
Okay.
It's like someone would be like, oh, I'm gonna use this red color in this painting because I feel like it, because I have the right to. So yes, I didn't feel like it helped the story at all for me, except for the fact that they're trying to convey that they're really like just one person, really, in a way.
I'm talking about the two different clusters visiting, like the German girl.
Wait, I thought you were talking about the sex scenes.
The sex scene between, like, the one I'm thinking about in my head is between that German girl, the new villain of the show,
and
which is
walking at the
great.
table, like
exactly.
Tease. That was great.
You like that?
I thought it was well done. I think it was sexy.
The fact that it's sexy is completely irrelevant to whether or not it's needed in the scene. Yeah, it was sexy and beautifully shot and two good-looking people.
Yeah, but maybe they're trying to like make her look like this very aggressive, sensei that's using all of her knowledge of being a sensei to her own desires and advantages.
They have already done that. They have already literally done
that's the first time. No, that's the first time you see her do that.
No, I'm talking about the scene at the diner. That's right before the crazy shootout that happens.
Wait, the diner?
Right, not the diner, because they don't have diners probably in Europe. I'm talking about the restaurant scene, the meeting that's going to happen, and the dramatic. Everybody knows there's a trap, and they're going to try to figure out who's there.
What about that? That was cool. I thought.
I thought
you were talking about a sex scene, man.
That whole scene, exactly. This is my point. That whole scene's great, and right in the middle of it, she takes off her clothes and sits on top of Wolfgang's lap, and it makes.
Wait, when does she do that? While they were having dinner?
Yeah.
Oh,
it makes no sense. And by this point in the show, they've established this girl's strong. She's independent. She can trick you with her looks.
Right. So you didn't waste more of our time letting us know that.
Right. And it just
okay.
I didn't understand it.
I know. Now that I think about it, sure.
But this is me being frustrated because there is so much good in the show and so much good in the people that make it. It makes me completely not understand these decisions that they've made.
Let me ask you this.
Right.
Is your frustration coming from you wish they would have dove deeper into the actual story instead of wasting time that they could have put towards the story in order to tell, it's wasting the time like you are saying, which I mostly agree with.
Right, like we know, and everybody on the planet.
What I'm trying to ask is, do you actually like the story itself? Because that's really what I want to talk about.
Oh, absolutely! Like not only I like the story, these two have the capability of making us get addicted to these characters and to these stories by getting more into it, get more into the personal, get more into doing things that I'm not expecting. Right, like. We already know using slow motion is like using black and white. It's going to look cool no matter what it is.
Right.
So, like, it's fine. Move on and get to the gritty side of it. Get to the aspect of the dialogue of crazy things that are happening. And barely any of that happened. By minute
Yeah.
40 of the finale, man, I was hooked because that's when the actual drama was happening. People's lives were in danger. People were coming up with ideas about how to rescue their friend. That shit's cool. That shit's why we were watching this show.
Right. Totally.
Not the previous 40 minutes of slow motion where nothing happened.
But with with this last 20 minutes of Wolfgang getting captured, would this have been as good if you didn't have the like 40 minutes of
Hey, Robert. Go ahead.
not as good?
Yeah, it absolutely would have been. You can cut that 40
You don't
minutes.
think? Okay, again, back to like
Setting up
these back to like these. Hey, Robert. Sorry, we're having intense conversations. This is great. And I lost my train of thought.
I was saying that, and I think that 40 minutes was wasted. They could have.
Yeah.
And you were saying you don't think. I assume you were going down a path of setting up the highs and lows to make you feel a certain way.
Yeah, the dynamic, using
Right.
those dynamics, which I don't even know if it's a real thing. I think it is, but
It definitely is a thing.
maybe
setting up
that
with
was it.
contrast and motion.
I personally thought the first 40 minutes were cool. There were some scenes like the slow-mo running scene, which there was a lot of different angles of that. Was half of it was great, half of it I could have like, okay, I get it.
Right.
It doesn't look that cool right now.
Exactly.
Move on.
Like
I get it. But nothing's gonna be perfect. To you, the Matrix was like close to perfect, maybe.
Matrix 1 was perfect, and now I'm understanding Matrix 2 and 3. And it's a big deal to understand those movies. And
Maybe it's gonna be a big deal to understand season 2 of this.
possibly. And Robert, we don't want to spoil this for you since you haven't seen it, and we'll try to limit what we say as far as when the story goes, so we don't spoil it. We're just simply talking about overarching what our thoughts were. So don't worry as of right now.
Yeah, do not rewind though, because there was some spoilers earlier.
Oh,
sorry,
yeah.
Roberts.
That's okay, and we appreciate your support. You are nothing short of the shit for showing up. Awesome, thank you.
We're so glad that other people like this show. We have no one else to talk about.
That's true. I think
No one to talk about with. Sorry. Anyways.
they can take almost like a surgeon's surgical precision in every tool that they use, including dialogue and drama. And I feel like none of that tough decision making was taken in season 2. It seemed like it was somebody having fun, which is great, and somebody doing crazy things, which is also great. But man, the reason I keep going back to the Matrix is because you're realizing that they're talking about government, they're talking about society, they are talking about acceptance and individual roles in society and to
Cheers,
each other.
Robert. Sorry, I was, trying to keep up with our live audience, Nima.
Keep it up.
Sorry,
I appreciate
you're
it.
so intensely talking about something. I'm so sorry. What were you saying?
It's fine. What I'm saying is, and you and I were talking about the other night when people are disappointed for M. Night Shyamalan not doing M. Night Shyamalan things
Sure.
or expecting him to do it, so they get spoiled when they expect it. I'm not expecting the Wachowskis to ever do Wachowski things ever again. Like, they can change things up because I know they have the capability of changing things up. But
You want the shock value that they can bring.
not at all.
No?
I want them to just do a good job because there's few people on the planet that can do a good job like they can. That's all I want. I don't want them to.
But then you implied they did not do that good of a job here.
They didn't.
Do you think
With season 1, I believe they did. With season 2, they
feel
did
like
not.
this season was like closed up really quickly? Or do you think they did the best they could, or do you think there were some kind of constraints on them and that's why they couldn't do exactly what they want, like especially time constraints? I definitely don't think they had money constraints, because like all these locations and some of the shit must have cost a lot of money. So what is it?
We're just pure speculating at this point. I think I do think they had money constraints. This show, there's no way this show is one of the more popular Netflix shows. There's no way it is.
No, but considering all these locations and fancy things that you see in the show,
that just hats off to the producers and directors for getting it done. That's why a producer's job is so hard to do, because you have a certain amount of money and you're trying to make it last.
right?
And you're trying to make that work. And one thing they do is they make it work.
They did a good job at that. But did they use their monies from The Matrix?
Probably, but I
Let
mean,
me ask you something else. What have they done between Matrix 3 and this?
great question. Like
You're welcome.
between Matrix 3, they've done Speed Racer, which existed in its own little
Okay.
world, and I'm not even gonna comment on that. They've done Cloud Atlas. They've done Jupiter Ascending.
I did not like Cloud Atlas. I liked Jupiter Ascending.
Reverse. I didn't like Jupiter Ascending. I love Cloud Atlas.
Really?
Yeah.
Is
Like
it
Cloud Atlas.
is that the true truth?
It's true. I think Cloud Atlas achieves perfection. It's a really weird movie. It's barely for anybody, but it's them doing a great job again at writing and filmmaking.
That might just mean that you're really like in tune with their sense of creativity. There's so many different kinds of artists out there, man. Like if you really got Cloud Atlas or it hit you in ways you might not even understand, awesome.
I got Cloud Atlas the fourth time I watched it. The first two, I was like, "This is the dumbest thing on the planet. Why is this taking so long?"
Why did you keep watching it?
Because it's the Wachowskis, man.
Okay,
I'm sure I'm saying their name wrong.
What I'm saying is, we spend the first 20 minutes of this conversation talking about how much and why you don't really like this season. Watch it again. The second time I watched season
I'll
one,
definitely watch it again.
I was so hooked. I thought season 1 was amazing after I watched it the second time. So I'm gonna watch this one again because it was so good, and I think I'm gonna see more things in it.
Oh, I will definitely watch it. I'll give it another chance and probably a third chance as well, just because of how much respect I have for these two. There's like, I can't stress how like it's so unique for us to be alive at the same time Wachowskis are. They get shit on all the time by media, by fans, by whoever, and sometimes they deserve it. And there's a lot of, but man, these guys they're shy. They don't want any press. They don't want fame. They just want to create shit. That's fascinating. And a lot of times they do a good job. Like, think about it. These two, I think their second movie was Matrix and became like the biggest movie in the world at that time.
That's a lot to handle.
And then they took on the challenge of making two massive movies at the same time. Back then, that wasn't really happening. That was something that was completely unique.
Are you saying the Matrix trilogy was one of the rare trilogies that were happening back then?
Oh yeah, that was obviously sequels have been happening for a long time, but that was one of the first situations where Warner Brothers like, I'm gonna give you the money, make two sequels at the same time. We trust you. There was an animated series that came with it.
Was it their ideas?
Yeah.
The idea to make the two sequels at the same time.
Yep.
Okay, so they sold that to
right. And it was
Warner
worth
Brothers.
it. It was absolutely worth it. Like now, 17 or something years later, I get it. And like, if you watch the behind the scenes documentaries, like when it comes to these two directing and moving a whole production along, it's beyond fascinating. Like
they're just honed their skills like that. They're really good at making visual audio art.
Right.
Or,
and they,
how do you call that? Media.
And they didn't give a shit about the interviews. They didn't care about looking fancy. They just wanted to make their movie. And that's awesome to see. And they never cared about the movie becoming famous so they can go in front of cameras and be like, look at us getting rich. They just wanted to make an awesome movie. And that's so great to see. Like, and I think they did the same with season 1. And I think they tried to do the same with season 2. But I do think there was so many constraints on them with personal life and outside of personal life with professional life that
sure,
this is the best they could. But I will give it a chance, and maybe I will love it down the line.
Are
I just
you
don't know.
saying that? I'm getting a sense that you were upset that it was only one of them making this by herself.
That's great.
And
yeah.
the other one, didn't participate. I'm sure she did. In some ways.
I think she might have writing.
There's no,
credits.
it's like, okay, season 1's over. Take the story and how it's going to look and everything here. I don't want to hear about it. She was probably involved.
I think she had writing credit on the show, on season 2.
Yeah, there you go. I forgot what I was going to say, but do you think this did not elevate to your standard of what you were expecting from the season 2 because one of them was not there in the producing of it?
If you're asking what I think you're asking, you could be right. And that's if I'm knowing that one of them wasn't involved, it somehow ruined what I was going to expect. That could be right, like, especially in the
That's not
subconscious
what I'm
level.
saying, but that's a great point too. It could be that. What I'm saying is, do you think that lacking one of half of that creativity in this season hurt
Yeah.
your perception of it? Okay.
Yeah, and
So
I think it hurt. I personally, I
that
don't.
makes sense.
This is not like anything to go by for anybody. I just personally think it did actually impact the show, and I
do you
think
think the show was too like lovey-dovey, cheesy, and all that because it was that half of
Yeah.
that
I think
sisterhood?
when you think about a dual team creating things together, it has
Yeah.
to be in a way where both people have ideas, and one of them brings the other ideas down and
Well,
brings it to the
they
ground,
have if
right? So
they
if
work
one of
really
them
well in
wasn't
the
there,
Matrix. They work really well in season one, and because they were lacking one leg in a way, then season two didn't. It went a different direction. Not to say it was better or worse. It just went a different direction because it had more influence from one of that half.
exactly, yes, there was nobody to tell the other half.
It's like,
no.
hey, that's too fucking
Right.
cheesy. Okay, maybe.
Right.
Well, I mean, again, like you said earlier, we're just speculating.
Right.
But it's
I
some
think
good
it takes a
speculation.
full spectrum. Maybe one is on the other half and the other is on the other half, and working together, that's how they come to the middle and they create these works that are incredible. So when one of them is out for a season for real reasons, I'm not saying she should have been like, boo-hoo, come back and do your fucking job. I don't think that. I think she went through a tough thing, and I'm glad she's actually coming out of it in a positive direction. But when they're not together, I feel like their work lacks. So I hope whatever they do next, which I'm not sure if I want it to be Sense8 season 3, whatever it is, I hope they're back together, because man, they make magic when they're
hopefully,
together.
maybe it'll be that good. But that's probably it, man. I mean, we don't know anything, but
Do you think there's going to be a season 3?
I hope so because I'm hooked.
What do you want out of season 3?
Dude, there's so many things that I mean, I want to learn about Capheus's story. Like, think about it now. Okay, here's the things. One of the things in this season that I didn't like. This last episode, too fast from where everything was fine to Wolfgang gets captured
Right.
to all of them together somewhere in Europe in the same van. Like, I would have loved
right.
to seen more of each other's anticipations for actually meeting one another in person. I didn't feel any of that, but I know they were meeting under extremely dramatic circumstances. But I would have loved to, like, maybe Wolfgang getting captured the last episode, and then a long episode that resulted to, like, at the end when it was like, you want war, we'll give you war.
You're
which was
so right.
Right.
You're so right.
I'm usually right, Nima. Admit it by now.
No, that would have made it an incredible finale for Wolfgang to
agree.
capture at the end of the previous episode, and this episode be the build up and actually the breakout happening in detail, and the connection of these guys finally being in the same actual physical place together.
Yeah, because apparently, like, when these people are in the same place together, not just the lovers. I understand from what I think about in my head, it would be amazing just to, like, have your friend that had your back in a fight months ago. You finally meet that person, like when Capheus and they didn't even show Capheus and Sun meeting.
Right.
Which, season 1, they had a huge thing with Capheus fighting. Like, I would have loved seeing more of that camaraderie, because that is what I love about this show. The main thing.
Hit on a nail, man.
Leading into the storyline, which is pretty epic, and it's still pretty vague because we don't know why the evil people are doing what they're doing, but it seems like everybody's trying to help humankind and Sense8. Hey, guys. Zora? Can you stop making those noises? Stop
God.
fighting, guys. Go lay down. Go lay down. Go lay down.
Remy is giving parental disappointment talk
Go
to
lay
his
down.
dogs.
It's time to feed them.
This is the reason my door is closed and locked. So
Okay, I'm in the living room.
I know
This
there's
is
no
the living
doors to close.
Yeah. So, well, this is the first in our
Show.
show. Yeah.
Man, you like that would have completely changed. I would have left this season with much more of a positive note if it ended or it went through the last couple of episodes the way you described it.
I know, man.
There was also problems with this last episode where when it comes to continuity and actually fitting into the lore, it didn't make sense. There was a sequence where Wolfgang gets tasered, and
Yeah.
and only one other sensei is impacted by it. When
Well, they're not
earlier,
going to show every 8 every time like someone gets hurt.
but they didn't even mention that nobody else got it because she had to go help him. They were having dinner, they were having a good time. So they literally showed nobody else got zapped. Well,
It's true.
earlier in the season, and then later on the same exact episode, they reconvey that when something happens to one of them, it happens to all of them.
Right.
So like there was problems like that, and one thing I didn't like in this episode because there was so much of it was happening in non-English speaking countries. Why does everybody need to speak English? And if everybody has to speak English, why are they
Well-
speaking it in a broken accent? Since they're technically saying
alright.
that they're not speaking English.
Okay. Think about this. They're all in different places in the world. They're, I'm going to say, obviously, I might be wrong here, but obviously native to where they're shooting this.
Right.
In a way.
Right.
And the show is for, an international audience, and English is the main speaking language if you don't count Arabic.
Right. Right.
So that's what happened. They found good actors that fit the places they're supposed to be. All this fits the storyline. And these actors, they found the ones that could speak English the best.
No, I'm not
To-
talking about the main. The main team should always speak to each other in English,
Right.
but the news in Seoul should not be in English. And if it's in English, why is it by somebody who barely speaks English or being conveyed that way?
Right. Because I know.
it breaks
I know.
what could be authentic, and that's
Yeah,
another thing
okay.
that these guys
That's
would
a
normally
great
not
point.
do.
I agree with you. I got nothing else. I agree with that.
Like, why
completely.
does Seoul talk to her brother in English? Like, that communication
Right.
should be in Korean. It would be in, like, I would
like
love
with nice yellow or white subtitles or
whatever
whatever?
it takes. Like, I would
Sure.
be so into that, but now that they're forcing that conversation to happen
Too
in
hard,
English,
too difficult. Maybe that was too much planning. Maybe that was one detail that they probably wanted because they probably want to make things authentic. And that
Right.
was in season 1, the same problem, right?
correct. And that
Okay.
that might be a fight that they lost to Netflix or whoever was making the show. Netflix was saying no, we need it to be in
Why
English.
why would they say that? I think maybe it came down to budget. Maybe it would have taken way more whatever
No,
plan.
I think it simply came down to, if it comes down to like a studio decision, it's Netflix saying no, you're going to alienate literally this number of audience if you have non-English happening on the screen for too long. I think that's a risk that, because
if
man,
it has come down to that.
I think it did. Because, and it's true, because like most people don't like subtitles for real reasons, but they exist for a reason, and it takes away from the story when you're forcing great actors to convey a scene in English when they don't need to be conveying it in English. Like, it takes
Well, I
away.
mean, you're still talking about like the third actors, like not the
Right.
main group.
Correct, not the main group.
Because
Right.
them talking to each other in English is
Part of the story,
great.
and it needs to happen.
you
I
would you
agree.
have liked, for example, for Sun to have been speaking in Korean with her teacher,
Yes.
for example. Okay, with subtitles on the bottom.
If Sun is communicating with anybody in her world, I would love it to be in Korean unless it actually needs to be in English. Like, there's really cool ways of saying that maybe these are high-class society people that they want to show off that
Okay,
they want to speak in English. That's a cool way of doing it. But to have everybody in social class speak English to
Maybe
each other.
maybe there were some scenes. Maybe they couldn't have both because that would make it weird for the audience. Maybe they had scenes like Sun and the cop lover guy.
Oh, right.
Sun and
Yeah,
her.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like if that was in Korean, it would have taken away from how cool all of that was, all their interaction. Even that cheesy kiss, I will admit, I kind of liked when they were fighting.
Right.
Took a little too long, took like maybe 40 seconds too much. I agree with
Right.
that. So if that would have happened in Korean, maybe it would have not had such an impact
On you. Sure, that's true.
on people like me, which is probably a big part of the audience.
Right.
And so they had to make a choice. Do we leave those scenes in their native languages, or do we put them in English as well? And you can tell because some of these actors are not as well trained in English as the main characters.
Right. And
So it
like
was
you and
awkward.
right. And you and I have been through that. So we're not dissing anybody who doesn't speak English well, because you and I came from that. And it's totally fine. It's not a negative thing about anybody. Then my thing is, if you're saying that for whatever kind of decision at all, any decision, I will respect it. Any decision at all to have all the conversation be in English, then support it in either a story way or in a way that you're telling your audience everybody's speaking English for your behalf. There's been situations.
Well, that's what it was. That's what it was.
But
think about it.
They didn't do a
Even
good
if your first idea of like, you know, Netflix, it was part of the contract, that makes sense. That would be the same.
Then they need to go all the way with it. If the audience
didn't they do that?
No, they didn't. They went halfway and they made these guys speak in either broken accents or broken English. That's like saying, if you're telling me that these guys technically are speaking in Korean but we're hearing it in English, then it shouldn't be in broken English. Because Korean spoken is still full sentences. It's still grammatically correct. So there is a movie, I think it's called Widowmaker or something. It was a really old movie with Harrison Ford, and here's the thing: the movie starts out in Russian, if I'm not mistaken, Russian or German or something, and they convey that, hey, we're not going to show the whole movie in Russian, but we need to establish that everybody that you're seeing, nobody's American, everybody's Russian,
right?
So they have literally this scene at the beginning, everybody's speaking Russian, the camera zooms in on the mouth, and halfway through a sentence they start speaking English, and it moves back, and you establish right then and there that from this moment on they're still speaking Russian. You're just seeing
it's for
it.
you. Okay,
exactly.
That's great. But how about, gosh, you know what we would have done?
What?
That's complete stupid ideas. But maybe we would have like been like, okay, whenever. In order for the audience to feel like they're part of the sensei in a way, because, you know, you want to be some of these characters, you want to be part of that group because it's freaking badass, right?
Right.
You would have made every single conversation that every single one of the senseis is having with each other in English and with the other people around them in English as well, even if that English is broken.
Okay.
But everything outside of that should have been in native languages. Like this last episode, for example, when Son's brother is driving away and he's like, oh my gosh, he's like the fucking Terminator, blah blah blah. Like,
right.
Don't say that in English, man. Say that in Korean, put the subtitle in English. That would have been so much cooler.
Yes, absolutely.
Stuff like that. This is what I would have done.
Like
or
that
YouTube.
line,
I mean, shit.
That line wasn't funny in English. It would have made me crack up laughing if it was in Korean.
Totally, dude. I would have giggled like a little baby.
Absolutely.
I will not do that live, but you know, anyways.
Like, here's the thing. I think Lily and Lana, they're not going to be watching this show, and like, if in an off chance that somebody's watching the show and they make it up to this point, this is the missing ingredient to take your show to the next level.
Well, hold on. We don't know that, Nima. We're just speculating.
No, it will. No. Either way,
I agree.
It will take the show to a level that no other show is doing. It would take this back to the level of Sensei Season 1, which was a completely unique thing. Now you're saying, you know what, we've made 2 seasons, we've learned our lesson, here's something cool we're going to try, is we're going to show you guys the way communication should have been all the way through this. Right. And I'm not saying that's the only thing to do. Season 3 could go any way.
And in a way, if doing that would like submerge the audience that much more into the story.
Yeah.
And that's crucial, man. That's how you get people.
English is a fine language. It's not the most beautiful language that's out there. Like, I would love to hear Korean. I would love to hear
Indian, German, all these
Icelandic. All those things would have are like music to a lot of people's ears. It's fascinating to hear other languages. Don't rob me of it, man. Like these actors, I'm sure would have even done a more incredible job if they had a chance to speak their native tongue every once in a while.
I know. I think you're right about. I think that's a detail that I don't think they would have.
I think if they had full control, they wouldn't have done it.
Exactly. I think that full control, they would have done exactly what we described in a way, like, you know, in their own way, but like, that just makes sense to me. I would have laughed so hard if he was like in Korean, oh, my sister is a Terminator.
Yes.
Like, and I'm sure watching all the other ones back, all the other 20 episodes before this one, like, so many places that would have worked so well. I'm still trying to understand why if that is actually what happened, why did Netflix put like their foot down on something like that?
Right.
Audience?
Right. And I'm not saying that it's a real thing that around the world, a lot of people, the vast majority of people, are speaking English as a tool now to be able to exist in a global
Sure.
universe. You need to be able to
Absolutely.
speak English. Like a lot of European countries, you and I have talked about this before. The kids are growing up speaking English, learning English, right? So by the time they need to speak to an American or a Brit or Australian or whoever it is, they can speak perfectly, no accent, nothing. They can continue a conversation without even thinking about it. So that's a real
Sure.
thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying these people shouldn't know how to speak English, but man, Dutch people do not speak English to each other.
Right. And think about it this way too. This show being all about acceptance. Again, that's like the theme that we picked up on because it was so
Yes.
obvious to us.
Right.
Maybe the message they were trying to convey was slightly different, but what we got is that like a huge message of acceptance is what Sense8 is in a way.
Right.
And that thing with good and evil battle, which
Sure.
is the root of like a lot of like huge big stories of superheroes and stuff like that.
Okay.
If we had heard all these other beautiful languages in that whole show in the first 2 seasons, that would have made that acceptance theme pop even better.
Yep.
Because then you're like, Korean, oh, you listen to that, and then you realize, and it puts you in this perspective of like, oh, wow, we do live in this one world together. Like, we're all
Right.
neighbors. Like, this is beautiful. Why didn't they do that, man?
Like here's the thing.
Well, okay, if Netflix did, I'm spitting everywhere. if Net, okay, say your thought first.
No.
I've been
I
talking
love
for like-
I love where you're going. Keep
If
going.
if in fact Netflix put their foot down and like put their foot down that on their creativity and like no,
Right.
you're not going to do that because we have this data suggesting that that's not going to work well. That's bullshit. Netflix has created a bunch of great, amazing shows because there's people making these shows that are amazing. I mean, what? There's, Stranger Things. What about the Peaky Blinders?
Peaky Blinders, House of Cards, a lot of
A
them.
bunch of amazing shows on Netflix that you could tell they took these creative risks and stuff. It looks different, it sounds different, it's cool, and the story's kind of like awesome. I feel like these things are almost starting to go away from the anti-hero and bringing it back to the hero because
Right.
maybe the anti-hero was a fad kind of thing.
Sure.
I don't know, that was a tangent, but
You're upset if Netflix is doing that. You think it's bullshit, and it could be true. I think Netflix could
if
be.
Netflix does that, it's complete bullshit. Let
But
these people
studios-
get
studios
creative
do
because
that
they
in
have
general.
They have a
Right.
vision. I know.
But and Netflix is a place for, like, they're taking more risks on movies. That's great. Like, the guy who made
But don't you think the shows like series are the next movies? Look,
no,
everybody's
they need
doing
to
trilogies,
they need
people
to
are doing
coexist.
universes.
They need to coexist. Like Snowpiercer, the guy's his next movie is a Netflix original, and I can't wait. Like he might be somebody that does his movie where people that don't need to speak English, they don't speak English. That was the case in Snowpiercer.
That's
like,
cool.
People existed in the same place. Some people
Right.
didn't speak English, some people did, whatever. But like my thing is, and man, maybe we should talk about the story and the actual details at some point. But
We'll get there, man.
if there is a Persian Sense8 in this third season, how kick-ass would it be if he spoke Farsi?
Yeah, sure.
Persians don't look good when we speak English. We speak it in the worst accent on the planet. Don't do that to us. We have a beautiful language.
Yeah,
Like,
but I sure, but like these actors have obviously. I don't think they were trained in English. They lived in America or in England for a while, and that's how they learned to speak. You can tell they're like very natural in speaking English. So they're both like bilingual, all of them.
sure.
I'm saying they're not from training. Like if you were in season 3 as a Persian sensei
Oh,
with a massive beard, you'd speak English and no one would know that. It would be even less noticeable than most of the actors in their show.
oh, I mean, sure. But at the same time, like when you get really good Persian actors, or I imagine like really good French actors, like, oh man, I keep going back to this. I hate going back to this. Like in Matrix, they had really good French actors, right? And they spoke French when they needed to. they spoke English when they needed to. It was perfectly established that why they're speaking either one, and it
They're
made
gonna speak
sense.
whatever they want.
Right. Like, do the same here. Like, don't force them to do just one, and it doesn't fit their character in any way to do just one. Like, it was great when in Matrix the French people would get angry, they would get into French. It was great when they started cursing in French. It was awesome. Dude, what?
Dude,
What?
all this means that they wanted to do that first. And the thought that made me interrupt you with my dude thing is that, could you imagine how even much cooler this whole show would have been if in those moments of despair, like Sun in jail, for example, if she spoke Korean instead of English?
Yes.
Like,
When she's
what
talking to
is she-
herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
When
she's saying,
every
who
time they're
am I?
talking to
All
themselves, like, that should have been in their native languages to have way more of an impact.
I agree.
Oh, gosh, dang it. Good talk, man.
This is I feel bad. Like,
Why?
because I don't want to be the guy that's negative. I'm
Oh, you're not being negative, man. It's everything. Every single thing out there has a flaw, and
Right.
the only things that don't have a flaw or seem like they don't have a flaw are things like the Matrix, who have like a huge shock effect when they come into the pop culture. But this still has flaws. It's just like the shock is so big that
Like
the
the-
flaws are overseen.
correct. Absolutely. And you know what's sad?
No, but you're gonna tell me.
Yeah. Oh God, it's happening again. No. Warner Brothers. I'm pretty sure it's Warner Brothers. They've announced that they're remaking The Matrix, and I'm just like,
Remaking the Matrix?
yeah. And they
Are you
haven't.
fucking serious?
Yeah, they've announced it. I don't know who's assigned to direct it, but as far as I know, the Wachowskis may not be involved. And like, think about
No,
how
they won't. They're doing a brand new one.
Look at how, like, think about how sad that is. Like, these people are alive, they're young, they created a masterpiece that literally changes the world
That should be left alone.
and should be left alone. But Warner Brothers is like,
But so
we
did
want
King
that
Kong.
money.
But King Kong did that.
King Kong's been remade so many times.
Exactly.
It's part
But
of
the
the
first time,
tradition.
I know, but the first time it came out, it was like, oh my gosh. And then they did it again. People are like, oh, really? Why? That's not necessary. Same thing for the Matrix. Hey,
God, I hope
Stop.
that doesn't
stop.
because
Stop.
like part of why we as humanity, like, I'm not saying everybody, but the pop culture people know the Matrix and appreciate their existence is because it had an impact on society when it came out. It became a part of our society and
It's like
entertainment
cooler
world.
talks to the next level.
Yeah, and
Should
so-
make a term for that and trademark it.
I know, and then call this show that thing. But like, what you're not gonna redo that. You're not gonna blow
No,
people's
it's
mind
just gonna
away.
it's gonna be amazing in a different way. And trust me, they're still gonna get paid because all these rights, they have copyrights on all of this story, the name.
Dude, when it comes to money, if you look into Matrix, it's
Maybe
a lot of
it's not even gonna
things
be the same story, Nima. Maybe it's gonna be like a huge movie or trilogy or universe,
I think it is a new trilogy.
like 50 years before the Neo saga.
Right, there is a lot more to Matrix.
Okay,
than
so
just
that's
Neo.
cool. That I would like to see that. A
No,
really
and like-
really well made thing.
Like Animatrix, like each one
Was
of those
awesome.
is in an individual story that's not Neo story. They're all really good.
Yeah,
like
they could make movies out of all of these.
they absolutely could, but I guarantee you it's gonna be one that they're more or less gonna remake Matrix, and it's gonna be just for like, we want that money, and they're gonna get that money. They're gonna get a lot of it, but it's disappointing.
Dude, no, because any creative being who's in charge of this in their right mind would put their foot down and put things in there despite all the constraints and restrictions put in by the studios that are going to like make the Matrix that much broader and bigger and cooler, hopefully. And you know what I hate about remakes of things? All the winks and
Yeah.
Easter eggs. It's like, I do not care at all. That's
If you're-
I'm trying to submerge myself in something completely new. Don't add like
Yeah, I know.
an Easter egg in there. Like, fuck you. Sorry.
Like that. No, that's a perfect. A wink is a great way of describing it, because it totally is. You're taking a moment and you're making it so obvious that, hey, remember this wasn't the original. Like, that's so stupid.
Yeah, but you're wasting my time, bro.
Exactly. Like most people don't realize that sequels and remakes and stuff, they work really well if they stand on their own and then they continue the story without keep needing to rehash what just happened or what people loved. If you keep doing that, you're telling me you don't stand strong enough by yourself, and you need to keep reminding people that, hey, remember that good thing that you love? This is the same thing. Don't do that. Like, oh man, you're so right about that. But should we talk about Sense8 some more?
Yeah. So besides all these production difficulties that we're having with,
we're not having, but we
think they were having. The storyline. Okay, so that's another huge talk right there.
Like Jonas turning into somebody that may be bad.
Yeah.
Really cool. New villain in the show.
That was really fast, though. That was really fast. That was, again, done too fast. But.
Right. Like, that's a cool thing for them to linger on, to do more details about it, and they didn't. They turn him into a villain. He comes back, says one thing.
He's not a villain. He's a victim that has seen so many bad things that he wants to help. But maybe Angelica is still alive, dude, because we keep seeing her and she keeps appearing, and those scenes are like, oh, don't worry, like when Wolfgang's about to like get shocked and stuff. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, baby.
Is she alive still, or is she part of them now?
That was the question I was going to ask you. I'm not sure.
Is Jonas corrupted because she's still alive and he's so in love with her that he has to like, agree with what they're doing, and that's why he's taking side of Whispers?
Right, but either way, he is corrupted. He's more on the villain side than he is on the hero side of the story. So like he, right before he gets punched in the face in the finale, he's about to call to give him a heads up about what's happening. So like,
and how the fuck did Will get to? I don't understand. Like that escaped me.
No, it didn't escape you. I'm sure it escaped me, and I'm pretty sure it escaped everybody else who watched the show, because it went from them wanting to prepare it, and boom, Will's in the same room and punching somebody in the face. Like, I agree.
What? How did he find that? How did he get there? How did he find that one room? I mean, I know Nomi's a perfect hacker and all that. And by the way, some of the hacking, I guess, is like too much for what people actually can do, right?
I mean, no, you can do anything with hacking. It might not look like that. It definitely doesn't look like that, but
hacking, can it happen? Can it happen that fast? When they were
like
driving, for example,
in real time. Like if you're talking about traffic control systems, a lot of them are automated in a way. But yeah, you can either do.
You can like hack in and like control it yourself.
There's crazy things that are happening. Like the Iranians try to hack in some dam here, and they were trying to get information, and like Israelis hacked the Iranian nuclear system with just a USB drive to destroy it in real time. Those things happen.
So it does happen.
But it doesn't look like that. That's the frustrating part. And Mr. Robot is one of the only shows that gets hacking done right. It looks not exciting, but it's thrilling still.
I feel like I would have liked to see a little more of how Will got there, even though it's implied now.
No, it's not. How is it implied?
Because it's implied because this whole season has mainly been about Nomi and Amanita and Bug being like master hackers.
Yeah, but they
had help from that one organization that's actually real.
The Anonymous.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, again, that's implied that's probably how Will got in and found the information, anyways.
You can't imply that to the audience without establishing.
How else? I know.
I have no idea.
They should have wasted 5 seconds putting something in there that made us. Maybe it was there, we didn't see it, but I don't think so.
I don't think so, because they wasted something like 30 minutes.
This last episode was great for the story. It was just fucking poorly done. Why do you think that is? Do you think they just kind of like took their time a little too much and then realized they only had like 4 episodes less to finish telling the cool story they want to tell?
Maybe.
It sounds like they were doing this show like I would used to do my, English homework in high school, like last minute.
All right, I know. Like
I still love it. Don't get me wrong. If you guys are listening,
I think. You're talking about.
Gosh, I'm so terrible.
No, you guys is a gender neutral term.
Why is it though?
Probably because
Should it not be because it's guys?
I don't know.
Like I'm sure some feminist is going to eventually be like, "Oh, we got to stop using guys for that." And I kind of try not to when there's a girl involved in the group. I'm calling guys because I feel like it's disrespectful to the girl.
It might be, and I could be wrong. But to get back to it, like specifically the Will being in that room thing, they had established earlier in this season specifically that they couldn't find out where that room is, didn't they?
Yeah, because I mean, if it's Whisper's interrogation room, it must be like really, really like sophistically hidden from
Right.
sensate minds.
They spent an episode telling them that you'll never be able to figure out where this room is, and they left it off there.
No, that's okay. I remember in this episode, and you've seen that in the other few episodes. Will gets. You remember when Will and I think that was the last episode when Jonas appears out of nowhere, and they're in front of Whisper's house, and he's just getting evacuated via a helicopter, and then Will comes in, and Wolfgang like cracks the safe, and they get all the paperwork, all the cars and stuff, and they probably found a lot of information that way because at this point Whisper still doesn't know that this has happened, that they broke into his safe, and that's how Will got access to Whisper's secret room. Done. I was still. I mean, I still would have.
I feel like you might be pushing it, but you could be right.
No, because in this episode you see Will looking at the cars really quickly. As soon as like he realizes Wolfgang's getting taken.
Oh, maybe. Okay.
So,
all right. An hour and 10 minutes.
I know, man. Back to this. Let's talk about the storyline before we end this.
Okay.
What do you think the big plot is between good and evil here? Do you think the evil is actually evil, or maybe a little bit of good, trying to save humankind in a way? It seems like the fight that they're depicting using this show is really like we've only scratched the surface of fully understanding who's fighting who. We don't know if the other clusters are helping or not. We know that some of them help each other. Like the guy that looks like a hobbit,
yes!
like that Riley sees.
I forgot, Mr. Whatever his name is.
Yeah, he's
awesome.
totally a hobbit. He's a hobbit.
He was a hobbit. He was a wizard in the Hobbit.
Oh, he was Gandalf's friend.
Yeah.
The squirrel wizard.
Yeah.
Cool.
And
I knew I'd seen those eyes before.
He did a great job in this, and like that's one of the things that I loved about this season is when you find out about the other Sensei clusters. Like every character that you meet that's not one of the main crew here, I can't think of one that wasn't badass. Like one that was a crazy cool character.
Puck was funny as hell.
Puck was funny. The person who visited Puck at the very end of this season, you remember the girl that said,
the Asian girl that was like, hey, get your shit together. He's on the hunt.
I'm so intrigued. I'm like, tell me more about that. And they're like, nope, that's all you get.
I know. But that's beautiful. Like makes you want more in a way.
And they didn't. So that's the frustrating thing. All the good things they could have done, they didn't do. Like,
hey, whoever's catching us right now, sorry, Nima, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Whoever's watching us live right now, thank you so much. We didn't think we were going to get any viewers for Sense8 Season 2 because we don't really know that many people like that show. We like that show. We just had an hour-long heated conversation about why we liked and didn't like this season. So
correct.
Back to it. Sorry, Nima. You were
That's
saying
totally
about
fine.
the other clusters. Yeah, I would love to see more of that. We've seen enough. It piqued my interest. I can't wait to see more. I really hope there's another season, or at least books, something that I can like get the story into more of the story.
I think
it really is a beautiful story.
I think with the way this is just pure speculation. I think with the way they ended this season, they are literally asking for people to give them a chance with either another season or a movie, like they did with the Christmas special. Because the Christmas special more or less was a special movie.
That was pretty lame.
But the Christmas special?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were some cool parts.
Those cool parts. Like the party birthday scene was genuinely enjoyable.
You know, one of the cheesy things they actually got closer to right in this whole season, counting the Christmas episodes, is when Leto visits his mom.
Really?
Yeah, that was pretty well done. I think that was well done.
Okay.
I think anything emotional but not very romantic was done well. Everything emotional and romantic was, I just could not have it.
Right. And you really like Leto, right? You were saying he...
Dude, it's so funny. Like, as far as acting goes, like, he's probably the best, I would say.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, I mean, maybe his character is the easier kind. I'm not sure. Like, he had to act like a movie star, excited about getting new gigs.
And losing his gigs.
And losing his I mean, he was really good. I think he's like funny. Every time he's on screen, I'm giggling like a little girl, dude.
Like, you're right about that, because he had some of the funniest like chuckles in the whole series,
Totally.
where he was finding out people that like his movies, and he was getting
Right.
shocked, and he was finding out the people that don't like his movies, and I was like, I don't like that guy. Like, those kind of things were awesome.
Yeah, they wrote him really well, and the actor himself, I think, what made it that much better. Son was just extremely badass.
Yeah, it was badass, and I'm gonna go back to saying things I don't like.
Matrix?
No,
Oh.
not even that. Like, for the directors and the writers of the show, of who they are and what kind of people they're representing and what kind of people they're going for, it makes no sense for Sun to be naked more or less during that whole action chase
I was
sequence.
gonna ask you about that, and I'm like, one of my notes was like, I was gonna ask you, like, was it really necessary for her to, like, did she really do all this in those freaking shoes? And then I looked at the whole outfit. It was like, was that really necessary? Like, you guys didn't even try to make her look sexy, which is fine. I like that you're not trying to do that in this show.
Then what's the purpose?
But what's the purpose of having a girl in her 30s running like a badass slow motion somewhere? Why make it slow motion when you didn't dress her properly for the job?
Right, and this is not even like, if it was Will wearing cowboy boots and just boxers during that whole scene, it would have been just as dumb. Like, it's one of those things that, like, what's the reasoning for?
Well, she was dressed up like the but they could have made all of those like dress better.
No, they could have, but remember, her like outfit gets torn off during a fight scene, and the
Yeah.
moment it gets torn off, I'm like, really, we're gonna do this in this show?
know.
Like, the show already has nudity, has sex scenes, and it's
I
just
know.
fine. What's the point of doing this during the middle of an action scene?
Here's my answer to that. I think since we're still on this whole acceptance thing, which is really like hit me hard with this, like too much in my opinion, but that's still a very noble theme to try to like push on people, if you ask me.
Sure, it absolutely is.
But so I guess what I was saying is maybe they did that just to show like, hey, she does not look like a supermodel. She's not extremely hot with her body. She's just like a regular person like you and I. Which would be part of that same acceptance message. Like, we're all different. Let's embrace all that. And that's why they didn't waste their time with trying to make all the guys like super buff and badass muscles and
Right.
all the girls super sexy, even though they all were in their own rights.
Right. Every person is pretty and attractive in their own way.
Sure. But it's not over exaggerated, except for Leto, because he's an actor in his storyline, in his
Right.
character.
Right.
But no one was like extremely good looking. And maybe, it didn't warrant having the slow motion scene, to be honest. But
No. This whole season 2, if you had cut the slow motions or even speed up the slow motions to the way that it's real time, so make it faster, it would have been a much shorter season, considerably shorter season, and it would have been a better season.
I think they're just going for cool looking scenes, man.
They might be, and
And a cool storyline.
sure, cool storyline is one thing, but man, I'm telling you, using slow motion to get a cool looking scene is cheating. It's not cool, man. Like, it's like, use slow motion in a very limited kind of way to show something different, to show something more, to show a different
I
angle.
agree. We're back to the production aspect of it.
I
Why are
know.
we stuck on that?
I'll stop.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I just realized something though.
Tell me.
At the end,
Yeah.
I had to rewind this a few times because when they're in their suits, and somehow they all got in like
The biohazard suit?
yeah, like and the cop car pulls over and like, oh, okay, I still don't know if these are the good guys driving or the bad guys, and then you see the cop car and you're like, oh, they're the good guys, and then the good guys come out of the car and the good guys, they're all friends. They're like, oh, it's all of them. They're finally meeting, and like obviously I was let down because they didn't have any like emotional experience meeting each other, even though it was a dramatic event and they had to like be on point and get out of there fast. My question to you is, was Kala in any of them, or is she gonna get apprehended at the airport because Whispers knows her name and might have already?
No, I thought Kala was there.
Was she?
I thought she was in the van. I could be wrong,
Okay,
but I thought
okay,
she was in
good.
the
No,
van.
that's great, because if she was not, Whispers got her name
right.
way before they got to him, and we have no idea with the timeline. We don't know if that took days or weeks or hours. that really frustrated me.
Correct.
Because they all boarded the plane, and that's at least like, I'm assuming a 10-hour flight from San Francisco at least. It's probably way longer than that. So the long time that has passed there, and if Whispers had known about Kala, he probably sent a team out already that would have intercepted her at the airport.
Possibly, like the same way he did with Wolfgang.
No, how did he get Wolfgang? Oh, Wolfgang got
because of the girl.
The girl, yeah.
Right.
But
what's her name, by the way?
I don't really care.
Okay.
Steve.
Her name's Steve. The biohazard scene had something really cool that happened so fast that I wish they would have spent more time. Like, you know how they're going through the security check?
Yeah.
That little sequence that was like 5 seconds long about how they overpowered the guards was brilliantly smart. It was so good. Right. And they're like moved on because one of them hits the guard. And then they all turn on that one to make it look like he's the only bad guy.
I know. That's why I had to rewind 3-4 times to understand like what was going on.
It was so good, but I'm like,
yeah, it was so good.
Make a whole episode like that as opposed to brushing it off like
at least 3 times what it was. Like build that tension up that they could have made it so that at the end you're like, you already have no idea who's driving the van.
Right.
You kind of have an idea. But they could have drawn that out so much better.
Right.
If it wasn't for that slow-mo scene at the beginning, they could have spent more time in the ending. So, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen next?
We wait months and months to see if Netflix
probably
renews
another
it for
2-3 years
before they renew for season 2, if they do.
Maybe they'll contact us for ideas.
But please do. If you wanna hire us to come up with genius ideas for your next season of Sense8, I'm on board. I will quit my job.
Help you guys make it better. Girls. Gosh, I'm sorry. I don't know anymore. What to use.
That's fine.
Totally fine.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, for those that have tuned in so far.
I don't want to stop talking about this.
It's an hour and 20 minutes.
So?
Like, I got things to do, like laundry, and then going to, like, sleep and things.
You do laundry? You don't buy new clothes and throw the old ones away?
No. Do you?
I don't.
Okay.
I just don't wash my clothes.
For anybody that might be new, and if there's a crazy chance that you've stuck through an hour and 20-minute conversation so far, please subscribe. Yeah, first of all, thank you. You're right.
Yeah.
And then...
Jeez, Nima.
Leave comments. Let us know what you think, what your thoughts about the show were, how wrong I was, and how right maybe Remy was. I would love to know all those things.
Yeah, well, maybe not like that, but
no,
that was fun, man. This was fun.
Yeah,
I'm glad we did this. So in 2 weeks we're gonna do House of Cards, but we're gonna do it a little differently.
Yeah, and it's gonna be exhausting, but we're gonna do it a little bit differently.
We have to, man. It's their risk to take.
That's
to take this to the next level.
Totally right, but. At the moment,
how many times you said that this episode? I love it.
I'm gonna stop saying it from now on since you pointed out. Nope. Everybody, we appreciate your time. Have a good night, good evening, good morning, wherever it is. We appreciate everybody that tunes in and watches our show. It means a lot. And
we hope we didn't, bore to death any of our subscribers that don't really care about Sense8.
So this is the thing to find out with this episode is how many subscribers do we actually lose?
Well. No one's going to stay to the end of this.
You never know. But either way, Remy, thanks for hanging out. It was awesome. It was an interesting conversation.
It was a great conversation, man.
This is me going towards it, and we're done. Oh, man.
Oh, dude.
That was awesome. That was a long conversation.
That was very long. I'm exhausted. I'm taking a nap.